Welcome to The Explainer. If you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the news, then stick around. Today, we're unpacking a really powerful toolkit that's basically designed for the turbulent world we're living in. It's called International Political Sociology. Think of it as a fresh way of seeing all the forces that shape our lives. And I promise, by the end of this, you'll have a brand new lens to view the headlines.
It can feel like a lot, right? It seems like we're constantly just bombarded with news of what some people have started calling a polycrisis, this tangled, messy web of crises that are all happening at once. You've got far-right election victories, brutal wars, horrible civil conflicts, and migrant crises all over the globe. And all of this is happening while the planet is warming up, we're still dealing with the fallout from a pandemic, and massive protest movements are challenging the way things are.
Is really enough to make you stop and wonder, are the old ways we used to think about world politics even working anymore? How can we possibly make sense of everything that's going on? Well, that is the exact question that International Political Sociology, or IPS for short, is trying to answer.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at where this whole IPS idea came from. Then, we're going to dig into how it takes apart our old ideas about politics. After that, we'll get to the three core ideas that make it all tick. And finally, we'll see what this new lens actually reveals and how you can start using it to make sense of the world. So, let's dive in.
Okay, first up, where in the world did this powerful approach come from? Well, IPS didn't just pop up out of thin air. It really grew out of two major streams of thought that were both trying to do the same thing: bring sociology back into how we study international relations.
So, on one side you had what's called the critical stream, which was mostly brewing in Europe. These folks were inspired by big thinkers like Foucault, and they weren't just looking to tweak the old models. No, they wanted to blow up the core assumptions of how we even study world politics. Then, on the other side, you had the constructivist stream over in North America. They were more focused on how shared ideas and social norms actually shape what countries want and what they do. They were trying to fill in the gaps in the theories we already had. But in the end, it was really that European critical stream that became the heart and soul of what we call IPS today.
So here's what's so cool about IPS. It doesn't just give us new answers. It actually starts by changing the questions we ask in the first place. And it does that by taking apart or deconstructing three huge concepts that we usually just take for granted: the international, the political, and the sociological.
Okay, first up, the international. Traditionally, we're taught to see the world as a bunch of countries, kind of like billiard balls bouncing off each other on a table. IPS just completely flips that script. It says the world is more like a fluid social space, where the lines between us and them aren't fixed or natural. No, those borders are constantly being drawn, fought over, and redrawn. And this is a direct shot at what's called methodological nationalism, that old, baked-in assumption that the nation-state is the only thing that really matters.
Next, the political. We usually think of power as something you can count, how many tanks you have, how much money you have, but IPS says, whoa, hold on, power is so much bigger than that. It argues that power also works through language. Just think about it. Calling someone a terrorist versus a freedom fighter totally changes the game, right? Power is also the ability to make certain things seem completely normal, totally natural, when in reality, they're the result of a huge political struggle.
And finally, we bring in the sociological. And this is the big move. IPS says we have to start treating world politics like one gigantic social field. This means we have to ditch the idea that society somehow stops at a country's border. The global stage itself is a social space, and it's built and held together by the constant interactions of all kinds of people and groups, not just governments.
All right, now let's get to the absolute heart of IPS thinking. If IPS were a computer, these next three ideas would be its operating system. They're the fundamental principles that run the entire program. So, the first big idea is relationalism. This basically says that the world isn't made up of separate, fixed things. It's made up of the relationships between them. So a state isn't some solid object. It's really just a constantly changing bundle of relationships with its own citizens, with other countries, with big corporations. So yeah, it's way less like a billiard ball and a lot more like a single point in a huge dynamic web.
The second one is intersubjectivity. Now, this is such a key idea. It's the notion that our reality is built on shared meanings. Things like anarchy or power or even sovereignty. They aren't physical facts out there in the world. They're real because we all collectively agree that they're real and we act accordingly. It's like that famous phrase in international relations: anarchy is what states make of it. It's our shared belief that gives it power.
And a third core idea is historicism. And put simply, this just means context is everything. IPS totally rejects the search for these timeless, universal laws of politics that supposedly apply everywhere all the time. Instead, it argues, really it insists, that we can only understand why things happen by putting them right back into their specific time and place. There's just no one-size-fits-all explanation for how the world works.
Okay, so we've taken apart the basics, we've installed the new operating system, so what's the payoff? What happens when you actually put on these IPS glasses? What kind of hidden stuff suddenly snaps into focus?
This is really where it all comes together. Putting on that IPS lens lets us see the social stuff that holds the world together. First, we can analyze order, and not just the order between countries, but the social orders of things like capitalism, or race, or gender, and we can ask how those systems get built and made to seem normal. Second, we get a much sharper view of power. We can see where it really comes from, looking past armies and money to see it working in symbols, in language, and even in our daily routines. And third, we can understand resistance in a new way. We can see how change really happens, from these huge revolutions all the way down to the small, micro-political acts of defiance that chip away at the status quo every single day.
And you know what? This brings us full circle, right back to that feeling of a world stuck in a polycrisis. An IPS lens doesn't pretend to have easy answers, but what it does give us is much, much better questions. It helps us see that these crises aren't just random accidents. They're the result of these deep, contested social and historical forces.
So, here's the real takeaway. By focusing on relationships, on shared meanings, and on history, IPS gives us a super powerful way to look beneath the surface of the news. It pushes us to ask not just what is happening, but how it even became possible for it to happen in the first place. So the next time you're scrolling through the news, just try it on. Ask yourself, what are the invisible social forces at play here? What are the hidden forms of power I'm not seeing? You might just be surprised by what you find.